Emperor Khalid pits young Pale and Atreyu against skilled warriors in this gladiatorial game. Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, Wave 4, collect them all.
And we are live, despite some technical difficulties. Not technical difficulties related to this, but technical difficulties related to the Spiro toy store that I was dealing with right up until 5 seconds ago. So I thought I was ready, and I wasn't because I got sidetracked by something else. But anyways, we're here now. We're talking about toys, as we do. I am Adam. This is Highly Articulated. And today we are going to talk about some toy news. We're going to talk about some toy shipping updates. We're going to talk about world building. And then I'm going to, send you on your way with some more anger towards me, maybe, or maybe more insight. I don't know. We'll see. It's been a hectic weekend. It's been a crazy weekend for me. And I'm happy. I'm happy it's Sunday. I'm happy I get to talk toys a little bit and just kind of hang out and, not think about all the work that I've done in the last week. So right off the top there, we played the commercial for Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, Wave 4, the Gladiator Wave. I am happy to say that all of the Wave 4 pre-orders have been processed. They have been sent to Fulfill Right. They have begun fulfillment. They pull, process, and pack orders on Sundays. So what does that mean? If you've ordered Wave 4 figures, it means that you will probably getting a shipping notification very, very soon. If you haven't already, the international orders went out already. The way that I actually strategically did it, I kind of pushed through the West Coast orders first and moved my way east. So hopefully, the packages that are getting shipped to California get a little bit of a head start. And, they should all arrive in people's hands kind of around the same time. We'll see if that strategy works. We'll see whether it makes no difference at all. But I thought, why not sort of try it that way? I kind of did it a little bit different than that. But anyway, needless to say, Wave 4 of Animal Warriors of the Kingdom is now being shipped all over the world, except for mine, because there was an issue with mine, which has, again, it's neither here nor there. Almost everybody besides me is going to get their toys. Although I'm cheating a little bit because I do already have some of the Wave 4 figures, but and I'll be able to pick up the hyena at Legion's Con, so I'm not stressing about it. But let's quickly say hello to the chat. Gatey's Toys, Cobra would totally build a wall. Absolutely, they would, and they would make you pay for it. John says, build it huge. Slickster of Styles is hovering the unsubscribe button. Fair enough. I get it. I was late. No, I wasn't late. That was at 2:00. Was that too clickbaity of a thumbnail? Was it a little too on the nose? I thought it was funny, because I really like those Cobra outhouses, and I love that they're doing it. I think it's a step in the right direction, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Larry Reed is here. Nolan is here. Thanos Copter. Scott Baker. Let's see. Scott Baker says, got my shipping notice today. You're welcome. Endless Fable says, got my shipping notification for Wave 4. Endless Fable is not on the West Coast, but I made sure to put yours through right away, because you deserve it, my friend. Scott Baker also got his Formo Igniter shipping notice. That's that's gonna be good. That's fun. Let's see. I lost my cactus says, I have one of them coming through Big Bad Toy Store. Does Phil Wright just send it to me, or is it going to go to Big Bad Toy Store and then me? That's a very good question. We will be shipping Big Bad Toy Store's order. By we, I mean I will be pushing through the order. The order will go to Phil Wright. Phil Wright will get the order. They will process. They will pack. They will ship to Big Bad Toy Store, and then Big Bad Toy Store will I'm assuming this is how Big Bad Toy Store is going to do it. They will receive it all. They'll put it away on the shelf. They'll, tell somebody in an office to click a button. It'll sort of populate their orders, and then they'll do the exact same thing that I did with Fulfill Right. So Big Bad Toy Store's order will be pushed through basically tonight, so that Fulfill Right should be able to fulfill it tomorrow. Now, I don't know how long it takes to get from Fulfill Right to Big Bad Toy Store. I don't know any of that stuff. Needless to say, short answer, Big Bad Toy Store will be getting theirs very, very soon. And then you should be getting your toys soon after that. So Scott says, I believe Big Bad Toy Store handles their own shipping from China. For a lot of things they do. For this, they don't. So I can't actually speak to this. We will be shipping product to Big Bad Toy Store, and it will be shipping in the next couple of days. So let's see who else is here. I hope I didn't miss any names as I was sort of going there. Ray Paz is here. Jason Reichert says, look forward to seeing you at Legion's Con. Absolutely. It'll be, it's crazy. You guys all see my face. I don't know what most of you look like. So you'll have to let me know who you are and why you know me. If you know me because of this, let me know that, because I won't always sort of recognize people. So let's see. Josh Brown is here. He says, got my AWOC Wave 4 shipping email from Spiro directly today. Absolutely. Josh says, I'm bringing name tags. Yeah, that's it. I'm very seriously consider picking up name tags. Even for us at the table, most people know us, but still, it's not a bad idea. Lost My Cactus says, I have a Hawken coming through you guys, so that'll be cool. Yeah, you should get that very, very soon. Brick says, what's with the hat? That was my hood for the first half of life. Now it's black and orange. I have been a Dodgers fan for a very, very long time. My grandfather, this is a total tangent, but my grandfather, my parents are from Ontario, so Toronto area, more or less. My grandfather was a huge Toronto Blue Jays fan. Obviously, makes sense. I live closer to Los Angeles than I do to Toronto. My 9-year-old didn't believe me when I told her that, but that's the reality. So I've been a Dodgers fan for a long, long time. You know, 25, 30 years kind of thing. I've had this hat almost that long. The grime on it that you can't see, like it's dirt. It's so dirty that I don't wear it that much. But when the Dodgers are in the playoffs, this thing goes on. And it doesn't come off till they get eliminated from the playoffs. And then I can switch back to toy hats. But there you go. And they're up 2-0. So, and I'm going to be on, I will be on Geek Dad Life tonight. Jay is not a Dodgers fan, especially right now. Jay is a San Diego Padres fan, who I was not a fan of. Was it last year that San Diego knocked them out of the playoffs? But I just thought, to rub it in, I would wear this on Geek Dad Life tonight. So that's part of the reason that I have it on. Usually I only wear it on game days, but I'm making an exception for Jay. Brick says, my first Major League Baseball experience were at Dodger Stadium. Got married right next to it. Crazy. I've never been to Dodger Stadium. I've seen games at the Sky Dome in Toronto, and I've seen games in Seattle, both at the old stadium and their new stadium, because Seattle is closer, and I should be a Seattle Mariners fan. But I prefer the Dodgers. So, Country Boy Niner is here. He says, seeing all the AWOC updates just keeps getting me more and more excited to get these figures. They're looking freaking awesome. You don't have any yet? What are you waiting for? They are freaking awesome. Josh Brown says, name tags come in rolls of 400. All right. Well, we only need, a handful, so that'll be good. And I Lost My Character says, it's not dirt, it's a patina. Absolutely. It's, it's funny. You sometimes you see the batting helmets. Some players have like a really clean batting helmet, and then some players have like pine tar and just grime all over it. I don't like that look, but there you go. It's like it's that lived in. It's like, I don't want to mess with it, and it's just one of those things, right? Scott says that hat's got a nice patina. Yeah, you can call it whatever you want. I mean, you can see, right? You can see this. This is supposed to be like white. This is supposed to match. This is supposed to match this color right here. But that's what color it looks like. So it's not. It's seen some things. It's lived some life. Let's see. Scott says, I lost my cactus. You beat me to it. Yeah, absolutely. It's got a patina. It's got a patina. That's the proof that it's not a bandwagon thing. I didn't buy it this year just to wear it because the Dodgers are in the World Series. Country Boy Niner says, I have some AWOC. I mean, the newest Kickstarter figures. They look so good. They really do. They really do. Those are not the ones that are shipping, unfortunately. I wish they were, but not quite yet. All right, so that is me caught up with the chat. Let's get into toys. First things first, I wanted to talk about 1027, which is, I guess, last things first, because 1027 was today. So I am going to pull this up here. I am going to share the screen. I am pulling images from the Full Force podcast on Facebook because it's super easy, because he puts all his pictures in one place and they're easily accessible. This Nemesis Enforcer figure looks absolutely awesome. I am very, very, very excited to get this figure. The wings, the bendy wire kind of, they called it his pet. They said that they wanted it to be his pet. So we're getting another figure with pet. This one happens to come with wings as well. You get an alternate head, you get alternate hands. He's a massive, big, bulky figure. What's not to love? Right, G.I. Joe fans? Just kidding. I know a lot of G.I. Joe fans do not like Cobra Law, and that is fine. This is just going to be a great figure. I'm not buying everything from Classified anymore. I've kind of realized that recently that there's an increasing number of figures that they're doing in the Classified line that I'm not buying. But this is one that I'm definitely going to pick up because it just looks awesome. The wings look awesome. The textures look awesome. The creature thing looks awesome. I'll come back to this in a sec. But let me see. Where is it? I want to pick a picture of his back. So you can see there's like articulation here. So it rotates and it sort of extends. There's articulation here. So, it looks like you can kind of fold the wings over him or fold the wings behind him or, whatever. That piece comes off entirely. You can actually attach the bendy creature thing to his back. The bendy green creature can go on his back. There's a picture there with the thing on his back, the alternate head as well. He's got those kind of like bone sword things that look like they grew out of him. They look organic and they look gross and they look kind of bloody and bony and but anyways, I think this figure looks phenomenal. And I haven't been reading the comic, the G.I. Joe comic. I think this actually comes from the Cobra Commander comic. But everything I'm hearing about the Cobra Commander comic, the Duke comic, the Scarlet comic, everybody's saying that this sort of this continuity is really, really good. So I'm actually now excited for issue 1 of G.I. Joe, the Energon Universe G.I. Joe. I'm still buying the Larry Hama Real American Hero stuff, but I'm very much looking forward to getting the Energon universe. I didn't think I was, and now here I am, all of a sudden excited about it. So Larry Reed says it's a butterfly joint on the wings. Like, how bonkers is that? Like, the accessory that plugs into the figure has butterfly joints on it. It looks really, really good. Nolan says, I'm on the fence with him. Wasn't able to get Cobra Commander once a man, so no real point of getting Nemesis Enforcer. You know what, Nolan? I think I think this character kind of stands alone. I get what you mean, though. I mean, if you're going sort of all in on getting Cobra Law and getting the movie stuff, yeah, that totally makes sense. But yeah, Brick says my Joe Classified collection grows. Nemesis Enforcer will be ordered tomorrow to join Jinx, Destro, and Prophet Director Destro. Yeah, this is right up your alley. And this will actually scale with a lot of your current stuff because he's a big boy. He's a bigger than average figure. So, now I will come back to this in a moment. Because I'm just gonna get straight into. No, actually, no, that's not true. I've got one more thing that I want to talk about first. Because I can. Let me see, but I totally forgot about getting this one queued up, and now I don't have it queued up. So I'll just mention it. The Gravestone Guardians, you still got a week to go back that, and if you haven't already, check it out. Go back to my last week's show if you want to hear more about it. I'm not going to go sort of in depth as far as that goes. Because I talked about it way too much last week, and so go check out Gravestone Guardians and back that project because it looks really, really cool. In sort of unrelated news, but still like backer. Nah, you know what? I'm just gonna pull this down for now, and chat before I sort of go back to the visuals. Thanos Copter says, I don't get much Joe, but I could see picking him up. Yeah, I mean, I think this figure, you know what? I'm going to bring him back up because he just looks so cool, and I'm still talking about him. But what I'll do is I'll do this so that I can. He just looks so cool. And for me, I was thinking about it too while I was watching this morning. Not a Pulse Premium member, but I got the link and I was watching it after the fact, to be honest. But yeah, I think this figure looks fantastic. And I couldn't help but think that, with the other lines that I'm doing, this could this could kind of fudge into Mythic Legions if you take off the knife holsters, knife sheaths on his legs. I think he's got sort of an organic enough, medieval enough sword and sorcery kind of a feel that he would fit, and he's going to be big, so I think he'll scale in there. I also think that he will fit fairly well with Monster Force. So if you do a Monster Force, I mean, this is, add another flying character to the ranks there, because I think he's going to scale with that stuff too. So to me, he's almost like less of a GI Joe figure and more of just a cool figure that you'll have to sort of find a spot for in your collection. But that's just my opinion. But yeah. Saf is here. What's going on, Saf? Good to have you. K-Mac, K-M-A-C. I'm going to say K-Mac. Digging blowtorch may not even need a retro. Yeah, that blowtorch looks great. I'm hoping that we get a different coloration. That the red and the ketchup and mustard, it never landed for me with the vintage figure. That figure looks fantastic. The classified figure looks absolutely fantastic. But that sort of falls into that category of stuff that I don't think I need. I mean, I literally have shelves that are overflowing with GI Joes now. So now I'm getting a little bit more particular. So yeah, so that's Nemesis Enforcer, whatever I think that's what he's called now, Nemesis Enforcer. I can't remember because they keep changing it because licensing or something. I don't know. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about today, I think that was everything that I want to talk about news-wise. I think. Wave 4 shipping. Gravestone Guardians has got a week to go. Nemesis Enforcer. Oh, thank you. Brick says now he's immortal. Ray Paz says Nemesis immortal. I knew it had changed. I just couldn't remember what it was before and what it is now. Nemesis immortal. Okay, it's still going to be weird to say that, but for 30 years he's been Nemesis Enforcer, but whatever. Yeah, so there's all that going on. But what I wanted to talk about, and this is largely I thought of this kind of today, so this is going to be me sort of thinking through my own thought process and vocalizing it as I go. But the idea that world building was something you had to do in 1/18 scale. That 1/18 scale was the scale that GI Joe used to be and should be again. The fact that Star Wars has the vintage collection and the retro stuff was all 3 3/4 inch. And the argument that it was because world building was easier at that scale. It was cheaper, it took up less space, and on and on and on. I think that's true to some extent. I think to some extent, you've got the argument is correct that, like, if you're going to build a Death Star, it's a lot easier to build it at 1/18 than it is at 1/12. The counter argument is even at 1/18, it's still not going to be to scale because the thing's not a moon, but it's a Death Star. It's huge, right? The Millennium Falcon is absolutely huge. Even in 1/18 scale, it's absolutely huge. In 1/18 scale, a lot of stuff gets fudged to sort of fit the figures. So even in 1/18 scale, you can't build everything, right? But what I've seen more recently, and what I've sort of seen like a movement towards among adult collectors, it is that, like, bigger is better. There's like there's more room for detail. There's more room for deco. Things get more realistic the bigger they get, just because sculpting details become easier. you can have more detail the more scale you have. That's just the way that sculpting works. That's the way molds work. Stuff doesn't get lost in paint and lost in the molds and stuff like that. And so I think it's kind of this weird thing where for the longest time everybody went, well, I like to world build, so 1/18 is a scale that I'm collect or whatever, and I had started to lean that way because of Cyberzoic, and I got into some Joy Toy stuff, and I still have vintage Joes and the modern vintage Joes, the 4-inch ones. I got some vintage collection figures, and they're fantastic figures. I'm not going to say that a Joy Toy figure isn't an absolutely amazing little piece of engineering. But the detail that you get on one of those, and the articulation that you can get on one of those, and so on, just doesn't really. It doesn't. It's not as good as what you're going to get in 1/12 scale. So when the G.I. Joe Classified team announced that they were doing the Trench Viper with the little cube, the little stackable, Lego cubes that they designed, my brain started sort of going, and I started thinking, okay, well, if you want a Millennium Falcon, 1/18 scale makes sense. If you want to build a full city, 1/18 scale makes sense. It's smaller, what have you. But if you don't need everything, or if you've got the space, why couldn't it be 1/12? We've got Classified series banging out vehicles at crazy pace right now. The His tank is amazing. The Vamp is amazing. The Dragonfly is about to be shipped in the next couple of weeks, allegedly. We've got the Ferret. We've got. I even think the Coil Cycle is a cool motorcycle. I know that it wasn't that popular. I bought a bunch. We got the Ram. We got the Trouble Bubble. Like, we're getting all these things, and in 1/12 scale, they look amazing. Like, you cannot deny that the detail and the sculpting and all the stuff that they're doing in a 1/12 scale isn't an upgrade from 1/18. But I mean, it takes up more space. It tends to be more expensive just because it's bigger, it's more material and whatever. Then I sort of look at the other stuff, like this. We've got a 1/12 scale Ghostbusters Plasma Series Ectomobile as a HasLab right now. It's at 7,000 backers. It's not all the way to 12,000. I don't think it's not going to get there. I don't know if it's going to get the early bird, but the success of this, I think this is going to be successful. You've got the where is it? You've got this, the Sentinel, 22.2 inches tall in 1/12 scale. I mean, this thing is absolutely massive as well. I think people are sort of opening up to the idea of world building in 1/12 scale as they see what's possible, as they see what can be done, as they see just how much detail you can get into 1/12 scale. You're getting lights, you're getting sound, you're getting, alternate faces and alternate chest pieces, and like all this stuff is swappable because the engineering fits in this scale. You shrink all this stuff down, and it becomes harder and harder to do some of the really, really cool, really intricate things, that people want from these things. I Lost My Cactus says, even at Lego scale, the UCS Falcon is massive. Absolutely. I have one sitting over on a shelf over there. It takes up tons of space. And Brick says, that's one Lego set that I wish I could work into my collection. Sorry, I read that wrong. I missed the UCS part. I bought the UCS Falcon and never built it because it was too big, so I actually sold it. about a year ago. But for this very reason, I just couldn't fit it anywhere. And that's well, I mean, what's the scale on that? 1/24th, 1/32nd? I don't even know. Anyways, what's up? What's up, Terrence? How's it going, buddy? The bunker. It's a whatever outhouse, bunker, cube, whatever you want to call it. Larry Reed says, could you see a G.I. Joe command center or a command like the base? I absolutely could. That's the other thing. I pulled out the 1/18th scale, bases that they've done in G.I. Joe, and I could absolutely see them do them in 1/12. Especially if they do them sort of in a modular way, like the bunker, where you can effectively break it down. And hold on, I'm queuing up a picture here. Bear with me. This makes for not very entertaining stuff, but that doesn't help. I'm trying to make things big and it's not really helping. But I'll sort of come back around to that. I lost my cactus. Says Lego people aren't directly proportional to humans because they're wide. Yes, I mean I get that, but it's roughly whatever. Ray Pat says I like the bunker. I just wish they could give us the bunker and such without a figure to keep the price down. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree, and I would love to see it without the figure, especially because most people are going to buy lots of them. So I kind of think it's like a weird situation where will they have to do a repaint? Will they have to like re-release it somehow or whatever? I don't know, because what I really like about it is that it appears to be modular. It appears to be able to work with other other bunkers and they can be put together in here. I'm just trying to pull it up so that we can look at it, but here, let me share this. Sorry, this is so disjointed. So it appears that you can add them together, right? Like it looks as though they will attach to each other, they'll clip together. This one almost looks like it's just the sidewall pieces, like the solid sidewall pieces. And I think that that's the way to do it. Like I think that's the way to sort of build these out. Terrence says med bay, offices, mess hall, etc. And he was saying, don't wait for the toy manufacturers to make it. Either make it or get an STL file and print it up. He says, but frankly, some of these aren't super dynamic and may not be big sellers. No, but they might be, right? And that's the other thing is like I think starting with this bunker, if they basically continue down this path where the bunker is compatible with a med bay and the bunker is compatible with an office and the bunker is compatible with whatever, I think they could be onto something. Yeah, look at the file folders in this office and check out the detail on the search protector under Flint's desk. Yeah, I mean, not everything's going to be that appealing at 1/12 scale, but it does make it fun. And there's like this looks cool on its own, but to me, it looks way cooler like this. It looks way cooler when you sort of configure it more like a bunker. And there's like more detail that they're adding in here. You can see over on the side here, there's like a weapons rack. You can see that the two ladders will plug into each other. There was another picture that they had, I think from New York Comic Con, where I didn't notice it at first, but the one piece of the ladder has pegs in the top and the other piece doesn't. So it does sort of, click into place. And it looks like you can kind of build them up and configure them however you like. Right here, you're seeing one of the sidewall panels attached to another sidewall panel. They appear to sort of clip together, and sort of mesh together. So I love it. I love it. I think this is hopefully the start of something pretty amazing that could be a lot of fun. And Raypaz says, I like it. It's the repaint figure. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that repaint figure, partly because I have like 6 Alley Vipers, and then I have what's the other one? They did like the Crimson Viper. Like I got those too. So it's just sort of like, yeah, I get the logic there. I don't know. It is a bit of a bummer. I'd probably buy like 10 of these bunkers if it didn't come with a figure. I'm just saying. Give me the option to just buy the bunker and I would buy that for sure. Isn't that just an Iron Man Malibu Mansion Hall of Armor's repaint? I'd be fine with that. Give me that if it would work too. Ray Pass says, me too. I have like 8 Alley Vipers. Nolan says, this hopefully means we get Checkpoint Alpha. Again, like I'm saying, like, I don't think you need to world build in the sense that you don't need like a full city. You can get some of these bunkers. You can get a Checkpoint Alpha. You could get, the G.I. Joe base. I don't think we need a USS Flag in 1/12 scale. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that I think in this scale, you could get some really cool stuff that would augment, the play value of the line. And I think there's a market for it. I genuinely do. I think the success of the classified vehicles, the success of the classified HasLabs, to me indicates that there's people that want this kind of thing. So I mean, hopefully. Now I know that the big argument, literally the big argument against world building in 1/12 is that it takes up too much space. To which I point out that this exists in a lot of people's homes. There is world building happening in a 1/6 scale, more or less, in other lines. And it's not just Barbie. The Barbie Dream House. This is for anybody that's wondering. This is the 2023 Barbie Dream House. But there are other Barbie Dream Houses that exist. This is, another previous. I think this is a Barbie Dream House as well. But this was the most current one, so we'll just use this one for reference. I mean, I don't know how tall that kid is. I don't have an actual, measurement on this. But my guess is that the roof of this thing is like over 3 feet tall. Not by much. I mean, I assume that a Barbie that's about a foot tall fits in here. So this is 13, maybe 14 inches tall. So you're looking 3.5 feet maybe to the top of this thing. But the point being, you can world build in whatever scale you want. And when people say, oh, you can only world build in whatever scale they collect, it's kind of an arbitrary point based on perspective and sort of based on the argument that, I couldn't world build in much in 1/12 because I have too much other stuff. Where would I put it is the argument. But then it's sort of like, okay, well, what if it's modular, and what if it can get packed away, and what if it can go in a bin when I'm not using it, and then it comes out when it's time to play. That's sort of where I'm thinking. For the record, yeah, I see Nolan here says, my girls had a 3-story Barbie house. Thing was huge, took up a whole corner. My kids downstairs have 2 Barbie houses. And they're like this size. I should have just taken a picture of what's in my basement as a reference point. You find room for it if you want to have it, right? That's kind of my argument for the 1/12 scale stuff. That you might not get as much in the same space, but if you're sort of picking and choosing, if you like 1/12 scale, why not? Why not do it? Larry Reed says the Super 7 Thundercats layer. That's another great example, right? Those are even bigger. Those are like bigger than 1/12 scale. Those are like 1/10 scale. So Ray Pass says, we don't need the whale, but I'll take the Cutter figure. So yeah, we don't need the other huge vehicles, just the characters. Absolutely. We get Wild Weasel with the Rattler. I famously said I probably didn't need the Rattler, but I backed it anyway. The Night Raven would just be too big, but I still want the Stratoviper. I love the Stratoviper, and I genuinely thought that the Rattler might get the Stratoviper as the gunner. I was really hoping for that, but we didn't, so I guess I still need a Stratoviper. So I'm right there with you. A cutter, among others, right? Vehicle drivers that won't necessarily get vehicles to go with them. That being said, I also don't need every single GI Joe. We've established that too. So Ray says some of those guys just hate Hasbro if it's who I think you're talking about. So whatever. I'm not talking about anybody specifically. I genuinely am not. And I mean, there are some vocal proponents of sort of 1/18 scale being the only scale that you can world build in. But there's lots of people that I know that are world building in 1/18 scale that, basically chose that scale for size reasons. I'm just saying, we can get the bunker. We can get these playsets. I think they work. I think it's I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility to get things in this scale. The dios that people are building for Mythic Legions are another good example. And again, I'm also not saying that Hasbro needs to solely be responsible for world building in this scale. You can build your own dios. I made that brick wall. I've got 112 stuff over there. Extreme Sets does really good 112 scale dios. They're pretty simple, and you probably end up adding to them with other things that you get, but it works. They look fantastic, and again, like I said, the size aside, the volume of room that you need aside, I think you could build a pretty cool world. It just won't have some of the things that you might want. So I guess that's what it comes down to, is you gotta pick and choose, what you absolutely need in the world that you're building, and then that might determine it, I guess. But Mirko says Hiya Toys has 1/18 scale Joes. Let them take care of that. I like the 112 Hasbro. I'm with you. The 112 Hasbro stuff. I hope they keep doing more. I would love to see, if the classified stuff is successful, I would like to see them do some Marvel Legends, 112 playset stuff, just to world build for those guys too. I think if you do that, it can kind of cross over, and it can kind of, you can use it for both. I'm just saying there's room there for them to do it. And the idea of a big corporation doing it is appealing, because it then gets a much wider release. Theoretically, the price comes down because they're moving more units and so on and so forth. I've said this before about play sets and vehicles, that for a lot of the small toy manufacturers, it's not as feasible, because it's very often different factories, it's different sculptors, so the cost that is incurred to sort of do one of these projects is a lot harder for the small guys. Now, you do have small guys doing just dio stuff. Wall XD is a really good example of somebody that isn't making figures, that is just making dio stuff. There's tons of dio makers. There's tons of guys, even in the sort of cottage industry of 3D printing stuff, where they're doing 112 scaled accessorized, sets, where you're getting crates and barrels and benches and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, you can get a lot of that stuff on Big Bad Toy Store. Or eCollectibles has a bunch of stuff as well. I'm looking at on eCollectibles, they have the NECA coffin and the NECA sarcophagus. I'm kind of looking at those for the Monster Force figures. Even though I wasn't going to get Monster Force, now I'm looking at, how do you how do you world build for a line that you just decided you're going to get? But yeah, I mean, I just think there's so much potential there, and there's just so much cool stuff. It just comes down to how broad and how vast you want your world to be is going to determine what scale kind of works best. There's even Didn't Hot Toys do a Batmobile? Didn't Hot Toys do an N1, the Mandalorian's N1 Spider? I'm just saying, you can do it, right? You can do it in whatever scale you want. Durant says, I will definitely make room for a HasLab Night Raven. Oh, I just hope they don't make me even consider. Because where would I put? I'm looking at my ceiling. Like, where on the ceiling would I even put a Night Raven? Because that thing would be absolutely massive. The Night Raven's like 3 feet long. It would. But then you could fudge the scale, right? That's what I was saying before too. You can kind of fudge the scale on some stuff. The Vamp is pretty scaled down. In a real world, Vamp would be pretty small based on the proportions that they've used. But it works. So that's the other thing. You can kind of monkey with some of that stuff. Speaking of monkeying, the diorama that AWOC had, that hut, it doesn't have to be super elaborate, but that worked really well. And that's roughly a 1/12 scale. Nolan says, hopefully we get the stun driver. Even if we don't get the stun, he was technically my first figure. What's his name? That's a Viper, right? Moto Viper? Is that his name? Yeah, that's a figure on my list. That's one of the Vipers on my list for sure. Brick says, where's the dial for HasLab Giant Man? But again, there's no dial, but having the Giant Man that big is kind of world building in 1/12. Thanos says, I'm always on the lookout for things that work for my 1/12, not necessarily to always have displayed, but for photos. So modular is definitely what I would want. Yeah, and I think that's part of it, is that, like, I think, if you're not going to have the display out all the time, then you can kind of make more room for it. I don't know. I'm curious, what are your thoughts, of you guys that are watching? Like, are you guys already kind of leaning into world building in 1/12? Are any of you 1/18 world builders? I know that the channel probably skews 1/12. But I'm always curious, what people that watch actually collect, because I don't actually know. Brick says, for Marvel Legends, I could see one-off environments for certain teams sell well, something akin to the NECA TMNT stuff, but like an X1 or a Fantastic Four one, or Avengers. Yeah, I mean, that's I know it's MCU, and I know that MCU figures don't do exceptionally well, but like a Quinjet or something like that would be really, really cool. I had, there was rumors a couple years ago now that the Fantastic car could potentially get made. The Danger Room would work, and they could expand on that and almost do like the X Mansion. Because I think the X Mansion could work for other lines, right? You could use it for other things. Toy photographers would probably be very happy to get that. Brick says, but make them that perfect size so that they could sort of be the centerpiece of a collection you just wanted to get. If you just wanted to get one, yep, for sure. Thanos says the Fexed training room would be great for an X-Men Danger Room. Yeah, so like I said, there's people that are out there. The Fex system is really cool. It all kind of clicks together. Joy Toy does their Dio things too, and they're like pretty well priced. I got one. I was looking over there for it, but it's actually on that shelf up there that you can't see. So yeah, I mean, you could totally do it. Andrew Davis says, please no HasLab Night Raven. Original Night Raven is too big. They should have fudged the scale on the HasLab Dragonfly tail. I don't know. I think the Dragonfly kind of works. Like it's not. Yeah, maybe. I mean, if they could have cut a couple inches off, probably would have been fine. But I think proportionally, I think it looks good. It's still pretty flat, right? Like, lengthwise it's long, but the other way it's not that long. So I'm cool with that. Thanos says, my main photo area is a modular jungle shelf. Still waiting on a Thanos copter HasLab. Ray Pass says, I'd love the Fantastic car, right? I think that would be instead we got a car, but it wasn't the car that anybody wanted. Thanos says there are some doll houses that could be the X Mansion as well. Absolutely, you gotta tweak them a little bit to make them a little less dollhouse and a little more gritty, I guess. Um, Red 5, do you know if Wave 4 is headed to eCollectibles too? Yes, it will be. Um, forgot to hit enter a while back. Yeah, that's only like half an hour ago, 40 minutes ago. But yes, all the retailer orders will be shipping out this week. So all right, we're at 50 minutes. I got 10 minutes to talk about whatever. I mean, what else do you guys want to talk about? Is there anything else that I'm sort of missing? As far as this stuff goes. Well, this is actually a really good question. Burke says, what production model do you think works best for dials? Playsets, crowdfund, mass produced like HasLab, Super 7, Gridiron, small batch, pre-order. I honestly, I think they all work because I think they all offer something different. And I think we've always seen that, right? And you're the one that you're kind of leaving out is DIY projects. One-off stuff where you're commissioning somebody to make something out of whatever they make their thing out of. But I think that can be cost prohibitive. So then you go, okay, well, what's the step down from there? And then I think you see, a HasLab or the Super 7 Cats layer as sort of the step down where it's mass produced by one of the major companies, which means the price point's typically a little bit lower, typically, not always. And so then you can sort of get in that way. But it can still be cost prohibitive. It's still, you're talking about a HasLab or a Super 7, it's still that sort of $300 to $500 mark, give or take, depending on what the project is. And not everybody is gonna be able to afford that. So you can also kind of look at, well, I mean, look, here's a good example, right? Barbie Dreamhouse is they're not cheap. They're not cheap. But you're getting a lot of playset for not that much money, and those go to retail. Those go straight to retail. I know that retail, like, yeah, it seems hard to believe, but I think you can do some things at retail, and I think once you establish a market for it, then it becomes easier to do it at retail. Gatey's Toy says, I wonder if post-pandemic flurry of huge playsets is paused a bit as we're out of money and space. I think so. I think it's also partly that, like, a lot of it, the Cats layer hasn't, been delivered, right? The sewer layers haven't all been delivered. Like, I think people are a little gunshot. It's one thing to pre-order 10 action figures, right? They're going to fit on one shelf. You can get all 10 on there. It's no big deal. If you pre-order 4 Barbie Dream Houses, you're sort of like, where are they all going to go? So you kind of order one, and then you go, okay, I'll wait and see, how much room I have left for the next one. So I think there is an element of that, for sure. There's an element of that. And Brick says, I just wonder about how much would actually sell, like how many times can we get Eternia's Cats layer, sewer layers? Can the market sustain, or is it niche market, niche maker level more sustainable? That's, again, I think it's, Super 7 Cats layer is the only Cats layer that you could go out and buy, or could go out and buy. When Origins does a Grayskull and does Snake Mountain, there's not a lot of options out there, so that they're out there, and people still didn't buy it in the numbers that they hoped that they would. but we'll see. I mean, I guess that's the big question. That's the big question, and I think that's the curious thing for me about this bunker is how many of these bunkers will they sell, and will the sales numbers of this bunker dictate um the next offering? Do they have Checkpoint Alpha lined up? Do they have the Bivouac lined up? Do they have something like that lined up for the Joes? And then um is it sitting waiting for the bunker to hit X number of units before they go ahead with it? I don't know, and that's the multi-million dollar question, I think. Larry Reed says the 6-inch TIE Fighter didn't sell well at retail. It did not, but I think that's, I personally, and I have no way to back this up. This is purely speculative. This is purely my opinion. I think the TIE Fighter didn't sell well because it came really early in the Black Series. I think it came without anything else to kind of go along with it. And it's a really big, really awkward vehicle. Um, I think speeder bikes and land speeders and dewbacks and an A-wing, would have been better options. Most of those they've done in 6-inch scale, and I don't know how well they did. I don't know any of the numbers, but yeah, that TIE Fighter is a weird example to me. Like it's like a bad choice. Like it's a bad choice on Hasbro's part to do that as a 6-inch vehicle. But um, maybe they thought it was going to do better. I don't know. Um, and with AWOC, what should be the first playset Dio? What should be the first playset or Dio for the line if it were ever made by Spiro, a third party, etc.? Kali's Lab. That would be. I think Kali's Lab would be the thing that would make the most sense, at least to me. It's in the comic book. It's cool. It would work with other lines. You could do cool. I've already like envisioned a lot of what the lab would. I've envisioned the play features in the lab, and what I would want certain things to do. So the lab 100% would be my choice. The Chunari Village, I feel the Chunari Village is one of those ones where I feel like if you got the lab and you wanted to do more AWOC, I feel like a Chunari Village is like 100% like a softball, my first Dio type of thing. You can buy everything you need for a Chunari Village at Dollarama. Every time I go there, I haven't done it yet. And now I'm sort of working through the sort of the movements and the motion of how to do it. I think I want to do a video where I build a Chunari Village, but I want to do it from like, here's what I bought for material, like here's what I plan to make, here's the materials that I make it, and then have people judge me and how well I've done. Like my dial building skills don't exist. I can make a brick wall. Okay. That's what I can make. I haven't really made anything else. I cut foam and I kind of map things out, but I've never actually completed anything else. Chunari Village is on my list because I think it's one I could bang out, in a couple of days with, 1 or 2 trips to Dollarama and Home Depot. So for me, the lab is like way more intricate, way more detail, all that kind of stuff. And so that's why I think the lab would be the best option for that. Let's see. Ray Paz, I hope if it's another place that has the ability to attach to this one. Yeah, the bunker. I hope, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I hope if they do more G.I. Joe classified play sets, that it's modular and that they'll be interchangeable. Thanos says the arena would be a good buy for other lines. You're absolutely right. That's another one. But again, I think an arena I think that's a pretty easy one to do, like a DIY version. Thanos says, I think some of these need to have the mindset of how to expand to other audience. 100%. 100% you do. NECA Street Scene has wide appeal. You're absolutely right. I've seen lots of different collections on the NECA Street Scene. And Brick says, yeah, the lab would have crossover appeal. I think that's what you got to go for. That's what you got to go for. You got to have a product that sort of pulls people into your brand that might not be, into your brand. So not everybody that collects AWOC wants the lab. That's fine. But maybe there's somebody that's doing classified. Maybe there's somebody that's doing Marvel Legends that, a science. I mean, look, the lab, you could put Dr. Mindbender in there. Mindbender's lab is Kali's lab. It's technically Jadu's lab, actually, now that I think of it. Scott Baker actually said it too. It's technically not Kali's lab. It's technically Jadu's lab. But Mezco's Doc Knock chamber is fire. I could see something like that for Jadu's lab. I didn't know that they had a chamber for him, but that's really cool. They do cool stuff. They're pushing the boat out a little bit when it comes to, like, they had that mech, that 1/12 scale mech, which is pretty wild. I don't know how well it sold, but Endless Fable says the flying ships. I would go smaller. If they're gonna do vehicles, if they're gonna do mounts, I would love to see that sort of horse mount thing at the beginning of issue 1, and then the dragonfly in issue 1. I would love to see those two if we could, if we ever do. But as I said, it's a lot of work to do stuff like that. Like a lot, it goes well beyond what you're doing for figures. So. Let's see. You can do it. It's not really up to me, but yeah. Miss One or MIS1, welcome. A new name that I don't recognize. Asks, how much do you think Nemesis Immortal is going to cost? What's a normal classified figure? 25? I don't even know. I don't even know what the pricing is. 40? It'll be a deluxe, right? So it'll be like 40, 45 bucks. That'd be my guess. I don't know. Christopher Bouchard, welcome. Right in time. Just about to wrap up. Same to you, Allison. Good to have you. Let's see. Endless Fable says, I have a dial piece that would be perfect for a Chunari villager. Yeah, I mean, Chunari Village to me is like trees and vines, and you could buy all that artificial plant stuff at the dollar store, Dollarama, or whatever your dollar store is called. Usually they have the sort of artificial plants and stuff like that. And then if you go to Michael's or Hobby Lobby or whatever, they have those weird mats that look like foam, or not foam, like moss almost. Put that down as your base. Get a wicker basket, get another size wicker basket, cut a hole in one, put them together in some way. You got a Chunari Village. I mean, I think Chunari Village is an easy one, and for 2 years I've planned to do one and haven't. And Brick says the chamber has been in their stop motion so far, but so was the car, which is being released. So yeah, I mean, somebody's building those dials. They haven't released them, but I get it. I get it. Scott Baker says, my youngest daughter has become to Allison. My youngest daughter has become obsessed with your coloring videos. She loves them. I will second that. Allison, my 9-year-old really likes your coloring videos. And every time, as a funny little aside, every time Oz does the clubhouse, she wants to know if Allison is on so she can say hello to Allison in the clubhouse. But anyway, Ray Paz says, my guess 55. I hope it's less. I hope it's less than 50 personally. I don't know. I mean, Hasbro pricing's all over the place. Like all over the place. Actually, I didn't talk about this, but Larry Reed, this will appeal to you. At 1027, they were talking about the Devastator, that they're doing the Constructicons, and you're going to be able to combine them into Devastator. I don't buy Transformers, but that thing looks awesome, and I'm very seriously considering potentially buying those. But they talked about how the releases, like, the math doesn't match. Like, there's two of the figures to build to sort of combine are 25, two of them are 35, and then there's two of the Transformers that should be $35 figures that come in a set that's $85 figure, or like a 2-pack that's like $85. And they're like, we know the math doesn't add up, but here's why it doesn't add up. And they're like, the accessories, the extra hands and like whatever stuff you're going to need for Devastator are packed in there as well. And I was like, okay, as long as they can explain it, it's like, I can kind of understand it. But if they just throw it out there, then it's like, wait a minute, this math doesn't add up. Like the Viper 3-pack that didn't add up. But we all bought it anyway. Some of you were smart enough to wait and you bought it when it went on sale. But yeah. Larry Reed says it's gonna be like 300 a total. Yeah, it's not gonna be cheap. But Larry, like, how much is it? Are they called Titan class? How much are the Titan class ones? Because it's effectively like that size, right? So what the arc? I don't know. Larry, forgive me. I don't buy Transformers. I don't know. They did the Titan class arc a couple years ago, like 3 years ago or whatever. I think that was about $300, wasn't it? So it's just like, it kind of makes sense. I could be wrong. Don't get your Transformers news from me. Go to somebody that knows. I don't know. I think it looks cool. And, when I can buy it in pieces, it kind of makes more sense to me. It's like installments. It's like paying in installments. It makes it easier for me to sort of palate the idea that it would be that much total. Ray Pat says he's bigger than Road Pig, so I'm thinking Hasbro's pricing will be more. Road Pig's 45. Okay, so if Road Pig's 45, but he comes with a dog and he comes with a lot of accessories. I don't know. I could still see them sort of holding to that $45 price point. Maybe that's just me being optimistic, though. Maybe it'll be 50, 55. Anyway. Thanos, they should make Transformer scale for 12 figures. Holy moly! They'd be huge. They make Transformers to scale for 1/18 scale. They do the G.I. Joe ones. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. All right, we're at 1 hour and 10 minutes now. As usual, Brick will be on at 3:45 today. So you've got about a half an hour to get your snack, to get your bathroom break, do what you need to do, take the garbage out, take the dog for a quick walk, because you don't want to miss Brick something. News today, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 1/6 Shooter will be on. Absolutely amazing photographer and a pretty cool guy. So check that out. And then, if you haven't had enough YouTube and you haven't had enough of me, Geek Dad Life at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 6 p.m. Pacific. I will be jumping on with Jay. We'll be talking about MCM London. I suspect that we'll be talking about 1027 as well. And then, other bits, other things. Anyway, always, I guess Yimbo is probably doing his thing at 5 as well. But yeah. Josh, what about Yimbo? What about Yimbo? Who cares? Anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's always fun to hang out with you guys and talk toys. I will be back next week. Next week, of course, we have another episode of Monkey Business. So come join us for that. We're going to be talking about what we're going to have at Legion's Con, what's going to be on the table, what we're most excited about. you know, Legion's Con. We're going to be talking about Legion's Con. We're going to be talking about, you know, Wave 4 because people will probably have it in hand by then. So come back next Sunday for that. It's going to be a good time. Josh Brown, it ain't happening. It ain't happening at all. I just like ribbing him because nobody else does. Nobody gives him a hard time because he's so nice. Anyway, till next time, everybody. Bye-bye.